By the time the cake was set out, I was already tired in the way that has nothing to do with hosting. Paper lanterns swayed over the backyard. My daughter darted between folding chairs in a glittery dress, her laughter bright and unfiltered. I kept moving, refilling drinks, straightening napkins, thanking people for coming. My mother-in-law stood near the patio table, composed and watchful, offering small comments wrapped in politeness. "You should sit," she told me at one point. "You look overwhelmed." I wasn't, but correcting her would have sounded defensive, so I smiled. That had been our pattern for years, she implied. I absorbed. My husband rarely noticed. The remarks were too subtle to repeat without sounding petty. I was carrying a tray of cupcakes when I saw it. She thought no one was looking. A small packet from her purse. A quick tap of powder into the glass I'd poured for myself minutes earlier. A gentle stir with a straw. Then she stepped back, smoothing her expression as if adjusting a centerpiece. For a moment, I told myself I must have misunderstood. Then she glanced up and met my eyes. She didn't look startled. She didn't look guilty. She looked steady. Something inside me shifted, not into panic, but into clarity. If I accused her, she would deny it. I would be dramatic. The party would fracture around my imagination. My daughter would remember her birthday as the day her mother lost control. I set the cupcakes down carefully. I walked to the drink table and picked up the glass. The ice clinked softly. The liquid looked harmless. Across the yard, my sister-in-law was laughing loudly with two cousins. She'd spent most of the afternoon making pointed jokes about how brave I was to host without proper help. I stepped into their circle, smiling. "You look thirsty," I said lightly, holding out the glass. "I haven't touched this." It was such a normal gesture that refusing it would have required explanation. She hesitated just long enough for me to notice. Then she shrugged and took it. "Thanks." She drank. I walked away before anyone could study my face. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. I stayed near the cake table, lighting candles, calling the children over. My daughter made her wish. Everyone sang. It was almost convincing, almost ordinary. Then I heard my sister-in-law's voice change. Not loud, just strained. She pressed a hand to her stomach and excused herself. When she returned, her color had faded. My mother-in-law hovered, tight-lipped. "What's wrong?" my husband asked, stepping closer. "Probably something she ate." His mother answered quickly. My husband looked at the half-empty glass in his sister's hand. "Where did that come from?" "The table," she muttered. "It was mine originally," I said evenly. "I gave it to her." He frowned. "Why?" She said she was thirsty. It was true. It was also incomplete. When my sister-in-law doubled over again, my husband stopped asking questions and started dialing for medical advice. His voice turned firm, decisive. Guests stepped back. Conversations thinning into uneasy silence. The paramedics arrived within 20 minutes. They asked calm, practical questions. What had she consumed? When? Who prepared it? The drink became important. Someone mentioned seeing my mother-in-law near the table earlier. Not accusing, just recalling. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't dramatize. When asked, I described exactly what I had seen. The packet, the powder, the stir. Professionals do not react to family politics. They respond to facts. The party dissolved quietly after that. Cake sat half-eaten. Balloons tapped against the fence in the breeze. My daughter was inside with a neighbor, shielded from the tension. That evening, after the yard was cleared and the house felt hollow, my husband stood in the kitchen, staring at the counter. "Did you really see her?" he asked. "Yes." I held his gaze. I didn't soften it for him. I didn't cushion the truth. He nodded slowly, as if something he'd avoided for years had finally become visible. In the weeks that followed, no one staged a dramatic confrontation. There were no explosive arguments. But visits were postponed, calls were shorter, invitations were discussed instead of assumed. The next time his mother made a cutting remark about my competence, my husband answered before I could. "She handled everything," he said, "more than she should have had to." It wasn't loud. It wasn't triumphant. But it was different. That night, when I tucked my daughter into bed, she asked if her party had been a little strange. "A little," I admitted, "but it was still yours." After she fell asleep, I stood in the doorway for a long time. I hadn't caused a scene. I hadn't swallowed what was meant for me either. I had simply redirected it, and in that quiet decision, something shifted that no one could easily take back.